Yeah, the competition, men and ladies, it's so, like you say, it's more compact now. There's more depth, and that
Yeah,
makes me think like it's quite a challenge for everyone when they're making the finals. Only 10 ladies. When I mean, you
yeah, I
weren't at
haven't
the
faced
races
it
this
this
year.
year.
Tane was coming back. We've got all these youngsters. Yeah, what? So you weren't racing, but you got to some of the races. You did some broadcasting, which is awesome, and I want to hear about that. But where are you at, and where do you think the riders are at with the new format?
So because I am UCI reps and I am involved with this riders union, I know that we don't really like riders don't really like the semi, even though I've never tried it. But from an outside point, I really loved watching the first race with the two race. I was like, oh, that's going to be exciting. I have nothing to do today, and it's going to be two races in the same day. So that was the first World Cup. But then I felt like you would see a bit the result before the result. You know, there were not that much of a show, and I felt like we lost a bit the spirit of downhill of this, you know, like this Samir's run or you know those crazy things happening during this run. So for many reasons, I think riders are not really happy with the semi, but for the sport in general, having some broadcast run on TV is really good regarding for the business, you know, for the brand and we're not gonna lie, all the athletes wants to be supported by brands. So yeah, if the semi is broadcasted, that's good. And maybe I would say if it's a day before or something like that, it would help to keep the final being special, more special. But yeah, if the semi is not broadcasted, I don't see any, personally, I don't see any point of keeping it. Mm,
Yeah,
That's
I
my
would say
point of
that's
view.
quite well summed up and said. And I would say I have similar feelings. Understanding, I see the business model. I can understand that. I'm not in the room with all the talks, so I don't have a huge opinion. Just, it kind of feels like sometimes the story has been told. You've still got the final,
Yeah.
but there
Yeah.
was something so special about that one run, and sleeping on a lead and all these things which are now changing. So the strategy of downhill
Yeah.
is changing. So that is quite a big challenge, for the core fan. And then yeah, it's so difficult because you see the if they're going to broadcast it, then people seeing the numbers, and that can help the sport. Like there's so many opinions and
Mm-mm-mm.
catch 22. Yeah, I just feel if the riders really are not for it, I wonder if there's a middle ground. Do you think there's a world where next year there isn't a semi again? Is there any? I mean, you obviously you can't talk about what's not publicized in those
No,
meetings
but
yet. But do you think
yeah,
there's a
it's
world where it could go
there is
back?
nothing there is nothing official. I wouldn't say it would go back, but I honestly don't know what will happen. But there is a chance of a different format, and riders have shared their opinion to the new organization, and we are still waiting to for discussion for next year. So yeah, personally, for first year, I feel like it was good. There is of course some point that has to be improved, but for a first year, you know, being completely new, it did run well, and there was some really good thing. I felt like watching the drones shots, etc., were super cool to watch. And there is still things to improve, but it's a long-term contract, so I feel like if the riders are united to share, and I feel like the marketing, the brand, the management, the team, the riders, the media, and the organization, the UCI has to be like in a good balance to find a good way. And I hope this will be possible.
Is it how much energy does it take to be riders rep or involved in some of that stuff while you're racing, or even in the off season?
So yeah, so when you're racing, that was a big struggle because I was frustrated to don't do the job I wanted to do regarding survey. I would talk for myself, but I would have loved before I would give my opinion. And for the girls, it was a bit easier because I could ask the 15 girls. But for the men, it was harder so to know what the opinion of everybody. So that's why they created this riders union. And now we have Emily Zingenthaler that is doing some great survey. And at least for me to give to the UCI is helpful because I'm like, okay, so 90% of the people don't want SOMI anymore. At the next committee, can we change this? And I have numbers, and this helps a lot for me.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. It's a challenge. Sometimes I think maybe it's a rider that isn't racing because then you can put a lot of effort at the races. But I understand you sort of need to be in the know and chatting to everyone. So it's such a
Yeah,
challenge when I hear you guys have to do a lot of this stuff at the race when you're trying to perform, and you
yeah.
have to be thinking about yourself. Not
Mm-mm.
selfish is not the correct word, but you
Yeah,
have
it's
to
all
be
about
absorbed
this,
just in your
what
team and
we do
yourself.
most. Yes, yes, yes. So the most of the job that I feel is during track walk, but this should be done long long before. So I have asked to have track ready before than just a week before, to just go check, send someone doing GoPro, and then we can check if it's safe, if everything is perfect, like the bison is clean. So it's in these ways that we would love to see things improving. And regarding safety, of course, like with concussion and all those things, we would love to have the same trained rescue team on every race that knows the sport, that knows, like it's a tricky one to handle. If it was private, maybe that would be easier. But yeah, that's safety is a big point we want to improve.
Yeah, that would be unreal if there was the same doctor and team. It just
Yeah,
probably cost a small fortune, or we need someone with
yeah,
passionate mountain bike experience that is retired. Like it's things cost money at the end of the day. Even though the rider's
yeah,
safety, I
yeah,
think, should be at number one of the list. And I do think the organization is here to to make a success of it. Their version might look a little
yeah.
different to some other people, but as a whole, there's no ways they don't want it to be a success. And
Mm,
yeah, there's going to be teething issues, and
yeah.
that does take time to. They obviously bit off quite a lot, changing the format and all these things. Um,
Mm-mm.
what was it like being in the booth a bit, finish line, keeping busy at the races on the broadcast side?
Yeah, it was good because I felt like involved doing something, and it was nice to see the girls doing this two race. I felt more into it, and it allowed me to take some time to really see some detail. And yeah, so broadcasting the race was cool, and it was just an experience. I love it, but for me, you have to. Yeah, my English is not like if I was born in an English country, so it was a bit tricky at some point. So I feel like I wish I could have talked better.
No, I think you did really well, and also I think it is takes a lot of courage to do something in not your first language.
Mm,
So I think the fans really
yeah.
appreciate it, having someone with your experience and
Yeah, it was good
and
to just
and
give.
race
Yeah,
results and credibility.